Hello everyone, this is Razorflame Kun, and today I'm going to be bringing you Dungeon Hearts, which is an action puzzle game that technically has some RPG aspects to it, but we'll get to that later. The category I'm going to be running is Normal difficulty, which is the regular difficulty of the game. Thank you, Jabro. The timing is going to be when I press the play button, and it's going to end when the results screen is fully done. Like everything's on the screen. And we can go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1, go. So, main aspects of the game. First aspect is there are 24 fights in the game. You have to fight that number of fights, and then you get to fight the final boss. So the beginning of the game, there's just a bunch of match 3 shenanigans going on, and I'm not going to get that in time. So basically, that's how you just want to match 3 of the chargers. You have 4 different heroes. All 4 of them have different chargers, and they combine into strikers. And then when you finish the fights, you get this screen, which basically all you have to do is do the match the stars, and your heroes gain levels. And there's only a certain number of levels you can get in every one of those sequences. The gray, everything in this game is movable, including the enemy strikers, which are the gray, the gray diamonds. Most of the time, you want to get those out of the way before they reach the end of end of the screen. Combos in this game, the × that you're seeing, the more different colors of charges you have, and the more more strikers you have, you get higher multipliers, and that's how you get through the fights really fast. So overall, this is a very fast-paced game. There's going to be some things I'm not going to be able to explain in the run, but I can try to explain them after the run if there's time. Like, right here we have the enemy strikers, but we also have the gray. With the gray chargers, which are enemy chargers, so if, say, this the cross and skull bones gets to the end of the face stream down here, before you destroy it with one of your chargers, then it basically will deal damage to the hero that it is in front of. Also, you're going to start seeing hexagons, which are hexes. Each one of them has a different effect. I don't really have the time to go into all the effects of all of them, but I will try to explain the ones that are important to the game, or that are important to note, because they will really get you, they have really devastating effects. But overall, the main thing that you want to do is just get a lot of chargers, and then if you get 3 chargers like that, and you match them, you get a super striker. When you destroy the super striker, you get a super attack that destroys everything on the screen, and it's very helpful in tight situations. On the bottom of the screen here, you'll notice the level, and then you'll notice abilities. I'm probably not going to use very many abilities because the difficulty I'm playing isn't particularly difficult, although for new players of the game it is it can be difficult. But so far, things are pretty mild, and then they just keep ramping up. One part of the strategy is you want to get, if you have a lot of enemy attacks coming at you, you can do strategy stuff like that to get rid of them as quickly as you can, because like I said, when they reach the end of the screen, the hero is in front of will take damage, and when they take enough damage they do die like in an actual RPG, though if you get through the rest of the fight they will revive at the end of the fight. So the number that keeps, the number with these swords that keeps popping up is the number of fights left until the end of the run. So now we get introduced to another trick that the game will start throwing at you, which are the armored. They're armored chargers, so they take more than one. You start having to deal more than one hit. Also in this fight, you're introduced to the square chargers, which can appear both as regular and regular and enemy chargers. You cannot move anything that is square in this game, so those are immovable. If you try and move them, you won't be able to move them. So you want to prioritize getting rid of the square enemy chargers, which we haven't seen yet, but we will, as soon as possible. Another thing you might have noticed is that you will also get the enemy chargers, which are the gray ones. You can also use one of your hero's chargers to get rid of the enemy chargers if you want to. When you do get to Super Striker, you want to try and get as many of your own chargers as you can. And when you're able to do that, you can easily... Crap, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, you get higher combo. That's where I was going at. Sorry, but this is actually my very first run that I'm doing on a marathon, so forgive me for anything I might forget. But overall, this game is safe. There's nothing you can actually... there's nothing that this game can do on normal that will actually kill your run. So it's a very, very fun run to do. And it does not take a lot to get into it. But pretty soon we're going to get up to our first boss. And the bosses in this game are fairly... they just have a lot more health, so they're fairly not threatening. Like I said, this run's safe. Unless you play on a hard, then it's not safe. But that's a different beast that we will talk about later. If there's time. I could explain the differences between hard and normal. So, and basically in these stages, we just want to get as many different colored chargers as we can to get a higher combo to get defeat the enemies as quickly as possible, since this is a speedrun. One thing I should mention is that every single playthrough of the game is going to be different, because every single stage has a selection of enemies that you could be fighting. So there's between 1 and 3 different enemies that can be selected from. So this is the first boss. Basically, for bosses, you just want to get a lot of stuff, a lot of good chargers. Oh, so that's what happens when you get damaged, by the way. But you want to get high combos to get rid of the enemies as quickly as the enemies attacks as quickly as possible, because you're going to start seeing the game ramp up in difficulty from here on. Also, just another thing I forgot to mention is whenever you match colors, color chargers like that, the fate stream will actually stop moving for a period of time like that. So that's a really good way to reset yourself if you are behind on the fate stream, which can happen very easily. You get that big attack when you use all four of your enemy strikers at the color strikers at the same time. So you use the red, blue, yellow, and green, all four of the different colors at the same time. And that's the first boss down. So, like I said before, in these segments, you want to get as many levels as possible, because the levels determine how much damage your heroes do, and so you want to get them as high of a level as possible. This is actually, oh my god, this is a really bad start here. Because, yeah, this game, that was a really bad start there. But I should be able to, let me get this out of here. Nope, I'm gonna get damaged a little bit. But I was trying to get that Super Striker so that I can destroy the everything on the screen. Now, you know, if anything has a purple ring around it, like these hexes here, it means that they are armored, and both the enemy strikers and the enemy hexes can be armored, and we will see an upgraded version of them later on, where they take 3 hits instead of 2 to defeat. If anyone has any questions, feel free to ask. There isn't too much left to explain now until a couple of stages. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. That's actually a good question that would actually be good for the dev, because I actually don't know the answer. But there's actually one thing that I do need to explain, and that is they throw another curveball at us, which are the colored enemy strikers. So if you saw on the top of the screen there, you might have seen like this red striker here. We actually have to use a red. Our red hero striker in order to destroy that. So now we have specific heroes that we have to use to defeat enemy strikers, and they're actually going to throw another curveball at us fairly soon. where we're going to, when making our hero chargers, we are going to have to we're going to have enemy strikers appear while in our colored chargers. So those should be appearing either this stage or the next stage. So it looks like they're going to appear in the next stage. So when I was practicing this game earlier, I actually set a new world record. Though I would have set a new world record if I was recording and had the timer right. I'm currently hold the world record in this game since I'm technically the only runner of this game. And yeah, that's pretty interesting that I got it in practice right before this attempt, or this run here. Current world record for this category is using in-game time is a 40:26, around there. And I would have, if I were recording then, it would have been a 36:44. So it would have been about a 4-minute reduction in the world record time. Oop. My bad. Leading into that, this game is not optimized yet. So that's another thing that I probably should have mentioned, is that this game is not optimized since I'm the only runner. Oh god. Game? Okay, good. Yeah. I have not got... There's been no other runner that has shown up yet. Or has submitted a run to speedrun.com. I think one thing about the combo system that I did not mention is that each additional charger that you have in the attack of that color increases the combo by 0.1, I think. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that's going to actually be a thing, though, because this game is pretty well programmed. So fairly soon we will be coming up to a second boss. Yep. One thing to note is that this game is technically an auto-scroller, since we are on rails the entire game. Well, technically we are on rails, but the game goes faster and faster the longer it takes you to defeat the enemies. So we're on a... Yeah, let's just it does go faster if you take too long to defeat the enemy. Here's the charger within the enemy striker within our hero chargers. You want to, if those reach the end of the screen, you will take damage, just like the regular enemy chargers. So there's a lot of things that are good to prioritize. One thing I do want to make mention of is the composer for this game is Sam English, of the tracks that we're listening to. He did a very good job with this game, and I think the best redeeming quality of this game is the music. The music was very well done. Overall, this game's pretty fun to play. Though, sometimes when you're trying to move pieces, they tend to stick a little bit, as you might have seen already. So when the enemy stuff is cracked like this, it means that they are low health. So, about this game in general, I would say this game could very, very loosely be considered a ARPG. Oh, this guy. Yeah, this guy, the Fate Stream moves really, really fast. So I'm actually not going to be able to talk during this, because this is actually fairly difficult. The good thing about it, though, is that they give you a lot of your own strikers to work with. And there you saw a bit of the game's difficulty. So, just to talk about the difficulty really quick, the difficulty I'm playing on normal, consider it hard, and consider hard as like intense or extremely hard. There's a reason why I submitted normal and not hard, and that is because hard is not marathon safe. I have about a 20% success rate on hard. And in this game, if you game over, that's it. There's nothing, you have to start from the beginning. So that's the reason why I decided to submit this and not hard, because hard is just not marathon safe. And I also would not be able to commentate it either, because I would have to focus the entire time. Again, if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, as there's not much to explain until the last boss now. Here's something I can explain. Although I already explained it, these dark purple, these are heavily armored hexes and strikers. They take 3 hits to destroy instead of 2. So and then I can also explain the ability I just used. The ability I just used is slow. It just slows the Fate Stream down to a crawl, which you don't want to do in a speedrun, but if you're about to get murdered like that, you'll want to do that. But there are also going to be enemy strikers that'll be that dark purple color, which as I explained, take 3 hits to destroy. So the game there's one more gimmick it'll throw, which I can explain at the very last boss. Okay. So this extremely dark purple striker here is the heavily armored enemy striker. Okay, so starting right about now, I'm going to start explaining the final boss because I'm not going to be talking during the final boss. The final boss is called the Dark One. There are several things you need to watch out for. One is he varies the speed of the Fate Stream. So the Fate Stream will go faster and slower and sometimes even stop during the fight. So that's something that you have to be very aware of when you're fighting the Dark One. Another thing is he has a hex called the Nether Hex, which when it hits any of your heroes, it applies this randomly the abilities of 3 different enemy hexes onto the hero it hits. So let's just say that you don't want that to happen because it's extremely devastating. As all the hexes have effects that you don't want to have happen. Another thing is you want to try to save as many of your own hero abilities until the final boss. The ability I just used basically just lets you click on any of your own chargers and make them into strikers. But back to the final boss, we want to save all of our enemies' third abilities for the final boss and use them all in the final boss, because the final boss has a very large amount of HP, and the fastest way that I have been able to find to defeat him is to just stockpile the final boss, or stockpile the final abilities of all the heroes, and use them all in the final fight. Another fairly devastating rune that you're seeing here is the Bomb rune, as well as the Frost rune, or Freeze rune. The Bomb rune, when it hits you, one of your heroes, it will cause a row of enemy chargers to emanate out from that point and take up the entire row of that hero. So it'll just create enemy chargers enemy charges all across there. The freeze makes it so that you can't do anything with that hero for a period of time. Both are fairly deadly, which is why you want to also get rid of those as quickly as possible. In terms of the hero, the fighter's final ability, which you saw, it's supposed to last a lot longer than that. It's just a flurry of hits that, if you time correctly, you deal twice the amount of damage that you normally would. So it's just basically pure damage. So this is the final fight before the last boss. And like I said, when we reach the last boss, I'm going to be quiet to let you hear the music. I've already explained all of the mechanics of the final boss, so just enjoy the rest of the run. That's just a quick revivability. And here comes final boss. Enjoy the music. And that's the game. Time will be coming up shortly. And time. Okay, so if this game interests you at all, there is a speedrun.com page that you can visit. It is speedrun.com/dungeon_hearts. If you are interested in speedrunning this game, feel free to hit me up on the Discord, and I will be able to get you started. The game is very cheap on very cheap on Steam. It regularly goes on sale, and if you're interested, please let me know and I can get you started.